Hi, this is just gonna be some quick, stupid thoughts and ranting about mental health and more specifically mental illness that no one asked for and probably no one will see. But it's like almost 7 a.m. and I haven't slept, and that's just where I'm at in life. So basically, well, for starters, we're gonna throw in a trigger warning, okay? Because I'm gonna include some stuff about my own battles with depression and some suicidal discussion about like attempts and stuff. So let's throw the trigger warning in. Secondly, I'm not in any way trying to police mental illness or the discussion and jokes that go around in mental illness. That's primarily what I'm focusing on, but I'm not trying to invalidate people or police it or anything like that. So I have a few points that I just want to make about it. I am going to start by saying, let's call a spade and acknowledge that there is a community online, I guess you could say, trying to make like mental illness trendy, right? So this can happen with anything, and it does happen with anything, is people jump onto things and we make things trendy, and there's a whole lot about that. For me, I'm not mad or upset that people make jokes because everyone copes with things differently. I myself make jokes about having depression a lot, It's just a way to get through. Hold on, I need a blanket. I'm cold. Let me just get in this. Anyway, yeah, that's a natural thing anytime you're going through something difficult, is to joke about it. So I'm not mad about that. I'm not really mad in general. But here's where the issue comes in. To the rest of the world, depression and some other umbrella mental illnesses that depression falls into, the world sees it, they don't see it is what I mean. It's an invisible illness. And it's something that if you're a high-functioning depressed person, you might as well not have it, even if you're struggling every day, if it's not in someone's face. And that's like something I've struggled with like my whole life, is like how, but I still get confused because I would go through periods of just not doing anything and staying in my room, putting blankets in the windows, sleeping all day, or not sleeping at all like I am now, and just other things that, not eating, just whatever it may be, that's kind of indicative of something not being right. And that all changed when I was in my late 18th year of life and I had my first suicide attempt. And coming out of that and getting treatment and all that, I thought, well, there's no hiding it now, at least it's out in the open and people kind of know. And a couple years go by, it's like it never happened. It's like, because depression or mental illness is something that people always think you're gonna just get over one day or something. So, it kind of just became not a thing anymore. Sorry if my thoughts are really disorganized because, again, I've been awake for a long time. Anyway, I had a second suicide attempt when I was 23, I want to say. I'm 25 now, so it was a couple years ago. The second one was, I guess, worse. The second one I came much closer to dying and was hospitalized. So I've been hospitalized twice, and I've done partial hospitalization 3 times. I've done every therapy you can do. I've been on every medication you can be on. That's a whole other can of worms. And that's not my point, but my point is I thought that at 25 years, it's like, and I don't want to use it as like this excuse and like, well, you should know, but it's just like, it's one of those illnesses that it's not always in people's faces, or they don't want to see it, so my point in bringing all of that up is what happens when a bunch of people are talking about being depressed and making jokes about it online. I can't help but wonder that validity of some of those people and whether they are actually going through it or not. And I know that's like not fair, but sometimes I'm just like, and I'm not saying you can't be a high functioning depressed person. I mean, I personally am not. I'm like not financially stable, or, you know, stable in any sense of the word. So, you know, I'm not saying, well, you have to be this depressed to qualify as depressed. That's the thing, is it's almost ambiguous in that way. But I don't know, I just think I feel like it's contributing to the idea of mental illness not being real or something that needs to be taken seriously. And it gets tiring feeling that no one wants to see it or can see it. Like, it's just like impossible. But it's like, if you do any research online about it, like, I don't get how people are still so ignorant about it, because suicide is like a #1 leading cause of death in people under the age of 50. It's not the #1, but it's in like the top 5. And depression and mental illness is in the top 10 reasons of disability in the US. Like, there are so many people out there who can't function, and people are so confused why. And I'm just like sometimes I do see like a depression meme or something that I think is like really funny, but other times I'm just like, do people have a sad day and think they're like clinically depressed? And I'm not saying people need to prove themselves, and like I said at the beginning, I'm not trying to police any of it. It's just some things I wanted to say, and I wanted to share a little bit of what I've gone through. I would say I noticed signs, or like in reflecting on like my childhood and stuff, I can see signs as early as when I was maybe like 11, and by high school it became borderline crippling. I remember like in junior year you're supposed to do all this like college prep stuff, and I actively didn't try at it because my plan was I wasn't going to live past graduation. I was going to graduate, and then that's when my life would end. And I wasn't even sad or broken up about it or conflicted. I was just like, yep, that's how it needs to be. I can't live. I just can't do it. And I am fully intended on, you know, ending it and stuff. And I didn't end up doing that until later in my 18th year, so some time went by and I was like, you know what, I'm done. I have scars from my first attempt. I'm not gonna show them because like that's weird. But that's the other thing that makes me think about, is it an invisible illness? Because a lot of us have scars, and like, but we don't need to look a certain way to be valid in our feelings and stuff. But yeah, so my first attempt happened then, and it sucked. It was really hard. I had done a really good job of hiding things from my parents at that point, who are divorced, but like if I was with my mom, I was not saying, hey, I don't feel, I mean at the time, like I didn't even know what like depression was. I just thought that that was like my brain or whatever. But lately we're questioning my diagnosis, thinking that I might actually have bipolar 2. I know a lot of people diagnosed with bipolar 2. It takes them a long time to get diagnosed because usually people with bipolar 2 don't realize that hypomania is hypomania. They just think they're not as depressed. So they only seek help when they're depressed, and they only recognize depression symptoms. But then I'm over here like, I sleep 3 hours a night for the past week, and that's because I force myself to sleep and take medication to sleep. So it's, and then I get all like, I'm gonna go to beauty school, and like I'm gonna go I want to be a tattoo apprentice, and like just want to take on all these endeavors. But then I hit the like depressions part of the cycle again, and like literally forget all of that. And it's something I never really recognized before because A, it's gotten worse lately, and B, I just thought that, yeah. But you know, I've struggled a lot. I had a period of psychosis for a couple months, like complete detachment from reality. I thought that all my loved ones had been replaced with clones of them. I was so convinced. I was like, that's not really my dad. It's like, I live with my dad. I was like, that's not him. It's a robot that looks like him. I was like so dead set on this and like so convinced. Like normally I'm self-aware and I'm like, oh, I might not be being rational right now, but like in this period of psychosis, like I was just so gone and detached. And I think the reason that I thought that my loved ones were like clones was because I had no like emotional response. I didn't have that like, I don't know the like scientific way to say it, but yeah, I was like, that's definitely not my dad. Aliens, like, can you take this robot and give me my real dad back? Like, on some shit. And I was on antipsychotics for a while. I've been on antipsychotics, mood stabilizers, anti-anxiety, SSRIs, SNRIs. A few months ago, me and my doctor were like looking into ECT treatment, electroconvulsive therapy, because I'm very medication resistant. That's another reason we think it could be bipolar 2, because SSRIs can actually agitate it and not help it. So it's just a mess, and it's hard to advocate for your own health when you don't even want to be alive every day, whether passively or actively. I pretty much always wish that I wouldn't wake up, not even like to be melodramatic, and like I don't get emotional talking about these things because I've lived it so long, like I just don't even like care at this point. Most of the time, the reason I'm even here still is because I don't want to hurt anyone by not being here. So that's why sometimes I wish that like I could enter an alternate timeline where I never existed, so I wouldn't be missed. Why anyone would miss me is a mystery anyway. Not even like in a cute self-deprecating way, but in a like a legitimate sense, because I'm just a leech on my family. So anyway, that's just some stuff that I wanted to say. Probably sounds like gibberish, but to anyone out there really going through this shit, I feel you. And to other people who make jokes about it who don't actually know what it's like, please stop.